on. Hello everyone and welcome to State of the Yan, replacing State of the Realm this week because, let's be honest, that's probably going to be the hottest topic of the day. We're talking about the Cruiserweight Savage tier, first impressions, discussions about the fight, everything you've come to expect. And yes, there will be Yan, there will be cats, and I can't promise any of the other animals yet. I'm one of your hosts, Mrhappy. Of course, joining me is Sly. How doth thou do, sir? How are your experiences going so far this week?
Give me your prog, meow.
Damn it. He just said that before we started, and then 2 minutes later has now said it at the start. Solid joke. Solid joke.
Yeah.
We're going to need some guests, and what better a show to talk about prog than 4 DPS getting together to talk about beating up small animals. So, we have some fellow raid members that I coerced into showing up literally 3 hours before recording or before intended recording. We have one of the melee / flex DPS from my team, Jitter. Hello, Jitter. He's in the middle of the fight and he can't unmute. He's literally in PF right. I said hi.
Oh, I said hello. I think my mic cut out. Hello.
For anyone who don't know, he's literally in the PF right now doing M6. That's how ready he is to talk about.
The Yan literally just one-shot my tank and then came over and killed me.
Perfect. And we have our caster, aka the Black Mage who just wants to crash out, but no one will listen, Biffolo.
Hello.
Hello.
Isn't that every black mage at this point right now?
No, not all of them.
Not all.
Well, most of them in Prague just want to fucking crash out. To be fair, even ours, it's just, pretty silent right now. I mean, they're calm. Probably after Prague, after we're done, they'll crash out.
So we said that Biff was going to have the chance to crash out right after we were done, and then we were just going to leave, and it never happened.
Damn.
I can't believe you made me use the Jitter.
Hey, there's your gimme cat right there.
No, that's definitely not the gimme cat. The gimme cat's in the top right. Right. The gimme cat's ready to hop around.
Oh, I see him now. That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm ready to move him around if need be.
Oh, I see you moving him around. Oh my god.
That's what I'm saying. I should have got the Moose in the bottom right, the Yan in the center, a Stingray at the two opposite sides, and a Jabberwock at the top. These are all, for any who don't know, the animals are from Final Fantasy IX. So even if I don't have good renders of the 14 version, I can get the renders from Final Fantasy IX. So that's what I had to do for the gimme cat. But that Yan is haunting the memories of everyone.
Yes.
And in case it wasn't haunting your memories, this version should haunt your memories. This version should haunt your memories, if nothing else.
Well, apparently it's haunting chat. There's oh my god, there's a Yan emote now. Holy shit.
Of course there's a Yan emote. Why wouldn't there be a Yan emote? Those are the eyes of someone who has seen way, way too much. Well, thanks for joining very last minute, Jitter and Biff. I just
Thank you
asked
so
them
much.
a few hours ago.
Hey, you're welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. First time on the show. So good to have you, of course. And
You had me before.
Second time on the show for one of you. I don't remember that. My memory is not good enough to remember. I was a caster. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I just brought on the group for Alo Alo, right? Because it was you whoops Kyo for Alo Alo. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. I actually have that overlay and I just saw it before we started too. There we go. No, it's your first time. Free Biff.
Yeah, my bad.
Hashtag free Biff. Get it trending.
Hashtag first time Biff now. Before we get started, just a quick shout out to SteelSeries for sponsoring the show. They have been supplying my hardware needs for quite some time, and they have been awesome. So shout out to them. On Twitch, !SteelSeries, discount code is there. On YouTube, it's in the description. Use it. Support the sponsor. Support the channel. Oh, And shout out to the Patreons as well. Sorry, I had to do a quick exhale beforehand because it's been a week. It's been a week of animals and howling blades. A lot of them. Shout out to the patrons as well. We don't do any special content for them, but they support us all the same. So thank you to them also. One more exhale. Cruiserweight Savage. What a tier.
It's a good one, that's for sure.
It is a very, very good one. Before we get to talking about the individual fights, we like to do a quick synopsis of the overall thought of the tier. Even though it's very fresh and opinions may vary from week to week, we have our prog thoughts at the very least. So, I introduced Jitter first. I'm going to say Biff first. Biff, you did this as a black mage. Very curious to hear what your thoughts are on the tier, because your role was probably the wait to see the fights. Everyone kept saying to all the black mage, oh, just wait to see the fight design. They said it's because of the fight design. So tell me, where were you at fight design wise, and how did that compare to your expertise on black mage, both old and new?
Yeah, I mean, from like a design and enjoyment standpoint, I haven't meshed with a tier this hard, like as across the board, right? All 4 fights since honestly probably Midas. Like I think every fight was just a hit.
Wow.
There's nothing that I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that next week. As for like the fight design relative to casters, I think we could have managed. I think we could have managed with last patch's black mage for sure, but I see what they were going for. It's not unreasonable to give the extra movement, because there was a lot of prolonged just running around in circles this tier. So
Yeah, but you got triple cast. Just triple cast.
true. See, yeah, got 2 of them now.
2 of them now. Yeah, the only thing I know you were missing, I remember, was 30-second ley lines.
Yeah,
Was that because you wanted to teleport back, or because you just wanted 10 more seconds of ley lines?
I wanted 10 more seconds of ley lines that I couldn't move. Honestly, that's really all it was.
Just I could be doing this longer. Why not?
Yeah.
All right. I'm sure we'll hear more about Black Mage as we go on, since they were a powerhouse pick actually for the entire tier across almost every group. They were the pick though of a lot of groups. But there's another job that was also like the pick of a lot of groups. And fortunately, we have someone with a lot of expertise in that too. So Jitter, overall thoughts on the tier, as someone who played it as 3 different jobs throughout Prague, I feel like you've got a pretty good perspective on the fight from all 3. So overall thoughts and comparatively for your Red Mage, Monk, and Viper experiences.
You know what? I think all 3 of them are fantastic this tier. I think Viper's the true winner. I mean, it feels like everything was designed around them this time. This is just any situation that was thrown at you. Oh, I got to peel off the boss. Oh, I need to hit a lot of mobs. You know, it just played it out really, really well. Red Mage, same thing. Hold 100 gauge into your ads phase, and goodbye, Yan.
The Yan's the one who says goodbye to you, technically.
True, he did beat me upside the head a couple of pulls.
And then, you also did a bit of Monk as well. It's kind of the in-between of the 2, it would seem.
You know, there's very interesting utilization of Monk's tools this tier with the way I was doing positioning, so it was very fun.
Now, as for the actual fights, in terms of enjoyment, Biff had a lot of singing praise for all 4 fights. Where were you on that scale?
I really enjoyed this tier. I thought it was incredibly fun to prog as a melee. I don't think I've had this much fun on the roll since maybe Promise Reverse.
That's a lot. That's literally, for anyone who needs a reminder, before all the hitboxes were huge, is what he's saying.
Yes.
The last 2 where they were just like, what if they couldn't hit the boss for like 3 seconds? Nah, they can hit it all the time.
Hit it all the time. No, make me fight for my uptime. It makes it entertaining.
You know, it's funny. As somebody who has had at least enough melee experience, I remember P8S, if you got selected as like the third row of the during the meteor mechanic, where it's like you have to get one of the towers, in between the two like DNA phases. There's like one position where you're like 2 steps out of melee range, and it's the worst feeling.
Yes, I remember.
And yet this tier is just like, that's going to be that, but it's going to be a lot more than just 2 seconds. Comparatively, when you're in range all the time and then you get 2 seconds out of range, you're like, I'm going to strangle someone. And now it's like, no, you're not going to be in range most of the time.
It's good. I like that. Give us more.
Well, that seems to be the intention. So, good response from Caster, good response from Melee, but Sly is over here looking like he's about to strangle someone. So I don't know what experience you've had with the tier, Sly. I know you're what's the team name? It's like Team Got Shit to Do. Is that what it is?
That was our former name. I mean, we still do got shit to do, but we're now called They Were Roommates.
From Fru? They were roommates.
Yeah, our raid league kept the Fru team name.
Now they're lovers though. Anyway, we're roommates. Now they're lovers. Sounds like a good soap opera.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, how much time have you had this week? Because you were usually a Sunday Monday raider before. I don't know how much Tuesday.
We've gone Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and we've been going back Sunday and Monday.
Oh, cool. So you're going a lot harder than you have in like the last several tiers for the first week.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Especially like first 2 weeks we're going pretty hard, and then after that, hopefully, we'll have it down to a couple days.
Yeah. It's good. I'm surprised. Why the change? Actually, before I get your thoughts so far, why the change? Just interest? Just more interest?
One, more interest, and two, we got shit to do, so we want to get this shit done. So,
that's why I do hardcore talk. I got shit to do, so I want it done in 3 or 4 days.
Look, we have a Friday as a raid day, and I'm like, bro, that Friday nights are my bourbon nights, and I want to do bourbon stuff, so I want shit done by Thursday at the very latest.
Fair.
So yeah.
So experience so far, Slides. Overall thoughts. Where are you at, and just the overall before we get into the fight specifics.
Fun fights. I mean, right now I'm progging 6. Ads, of course. Yay. Yeah. Yeah. Either way, so far it's been fun. From what I saw, that gimme cat jump. God damn it!
I was jumping onto you for the AOE. Listen, it's either that, Sly, or it's this. True face of death.
Yeah, he that little fucker's murked me a few times. But yeah, it's like so far with the fights I've been in, it's been fun, and I expect the other two will pretty much have the same fun factor.
Okay. Yeah. I'm in the same boat. I think Fizz ranged is probably the least fun role in general in the game, and I think that's not exemplified so much here. But if I isolate the fight design, I think it's my favorite tier since Promise. I think objectively it is the best tier since Midas. I think it's about equal in terms of I don't know how to really compare the two because they're from such different eras. But when I think about the individual quality of all 4 fights, I agree with Biff that it's largely like Midas was 4 good fights. This was 4 good fights. And I don't think there's actually been a tier that is 4 good fights since Midas, or at least not of the same quality as Midas. So, but if I'm thinking about modern design, then Promise is the closest standard that we get for me. And then, yeah, I think this would beat out Promise in terms of what I would call creative competence is the term that I came up for it. And that they had ideas and they did them and they were not bad. You're muted.
Another thing we have to go into is the whole scare from I guess middleweight from the first tier of them lightweight, excuse me, of them overcorrecting.
They definitely didn't overcorrect.
We all had that thought. No, they didn't.
No, I don't know. Some people think the ad, I don't know, Biff Jet, I don't know if you guys feel any way about that ad phase in terms of its week 1 scaling. I think that was just people weren't used to doing ad phases, and it was like just a lot worse for people to pick up and like have to actually like do the targeting and everything.
I agree with that.
Pretty much most groups I've seen, like with friends and stuff, helping out. It always starts off like really rough, but with just reps and people kind of getting used to having to do target priorities, right? Which like aren't something that you have to think about playing 14 and this is the first time in years. So
years, yeah.
People just stretching those muscles again, and once you get the hang of it, I don't think it's too bad.
When was the last time we really had a dedicated? I want to say it was Midas probably when we had like a dedicated, ad priority, ad target.
Yeah, okay, actual ad priority. Because P3S has an ad phase, but that's not.
Yeah.
P3 has a phase, Shiva has a phase, but they're not like in the same sense, right? Like,
right. I immediately think of Gobwalker.
No, see, here's the thing. With turn 4 Gobwalker, it doesn't. The main reason why I don't is because there's no actual boss. The ads are the boss.
Yeah, the ads are the boss. That's the thing. Like the entire thing is like a really big ad phase that I think kind of sort of prepared you, if you've done it before, kind of prepared you for something like P6 or M6, excuse me. Yeah, that's the only thing I can compare to, really, honestly.
Yeah. I think that's a fair comparison. Just specific, because you don't really care that the boss is there. The boss autos and the boss triggering the animals is really all you're thinking about throughout that phase. But they're there and they're auto attacking, and the damage to them is still relevant in that phase. So it's just like one little like thing. But it'd be like if you were doing turn 4 and there was like an ADS in the middle of the room as the actual boss while you were trying to handle the ads, is like the equivalent of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's fair. Other than that, though, I mean, Halicarnassus has ads, but it's just like, that's not really, like, it's like one ad spawns most of the time, and then there's the giant with the ninjas at the end. And then there's E8, which, like, has kind of a priority, but it's also, again, just a bunch of ads walking towards the center. So it's like more like A3, but A3s is also just like, the boss being in the middle doesn't really matter because it's invulnerable. It definitely takes bits and pieces, and I don't think any one makes you better at this one, especially with how long it's been, but it's been a long time since we've kind of just written off ads in Final Fantasy 14 up till now.
Yeah.
So design philosophy change, big deal on that one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But I think they just knocked it out of the park in general with this. This was what I expected. After Valagarmanda, this is what I expected for like everyone's involvement in the fight and the overall fight design. And this is what I wanted out of Dawn Trail. So that's overall thoughts. We've got 4 fights to discuss, and we'll see how much we can get through those, because I feel like some are going to have more to say. And the first one, I don't know that many of us are going to have much to say about. We have Dancing Green up first. The worst of the best, in my opinion.
Okay.
Okay.
Because meaning that all 4 of these fights are good, but this is like the least impressive of them. Like when I think of them being really creative, this one's not the one where they're really creative. So you think this will Dancing Green will age poorly out of the 4? No, I just it in a raid with a lot of standouts, Brute Abominator jumping between all the arenas, the seeds, the M6 ad phase, M8S's just constant speed and length of the fight. It is the most, this is a Final Fantasy 14 fight of the 4, like the least like new creative ideas of them. Yeah. That's how I feel.
I mean, the fight is a, for lack of a better term, a dance. It's a dance because every fight is a dance, but it more so is a dance because of all the movement and everything. A few interesting things, with the floor during Disco Infernal and everything, the frogs, the left, right, up, down movement, all that jazz. Few interesting things, but yeah, when you get down, when you break it down, it's a fight, it's a dance, but I still have yet to do 7, and I mean, even from doing 7 normal, 7 will probably stand out. 7 and 8 will probably stand out a little bit more than 5. Right now, 6 definitely stands out, not just because of ads, but you know.
Fucking Yan, man. Jitter,
Yeah.
where were you at on M5S? Because this was, I think I want melee perspective, because M5 pretty quickly showcases that they want melees doing kind of literally funky things. Least funky of the batch, but at the very least, a little funky compared to previous raid tiers.
Actually really, really like Dancing Green. I thought that as an intro fight to the tier was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I like that it has me kind of moving about the arena. I have to pay attention to the floor and that it keeps moving. I got to watch these spotlights going around. I got to pay attention to, in the latter half of the fight, where my healer is. You know, it's good. It's a lot of things to juggle all at the same time for a role that sometimes kind of just has you standing there hitting the boss, pressing the same buttons all the time. So now it's like, there's like 10 things on my screen. This is great. I like this. You know, I can't just sit here and tunnel on my rotation. I have to pay attention. I think it's like just enough engagement for your melee players to like keep them interested while everything else is happening.
As a melee, that's fair. Do you think they were a little bit lenient with Dancing Green with the whole omnidirectional thing during in and outs and?
Oh, they should have made us do positionals during that. They really should have. The omnidirectional thing there. When I saw it pop up, I was like, kind of sad. Honestly,
like, oh, this is free. Oh, this is free. Yay!
This is
I can just press buttons. I can just press buttons and go in and out.
The True North.
No.
No. True
Even though
North,
I do it like. Even though I do it on fucking reflex because that's what I've been taught. It's what I've been taught. Fuck.
Probably for the better than to, you know, not.
No, yeah.
That's fine. This fight starts a pretty obvious trend of all point blank AoEs want your melee to not try to be max meleeing.
Yes. Yep.
And how I want to know how that, because as somebody who shot calls all the runs every time, I feel like I had to add the please respect the point blank call to a lot of point blanks this tier.
They were all very large. That's all I'll say. They like covered half of what max melee was, so you had to be on the back half of max melee instead of where you would normally get. It's just easier to like step out between the GCD and not get clipped. They finally said, look, we're gonna make these where you have to pay attention to them instead of I stand max melee, I get the hit boss. It's good. It's good.
As a phys range, I'm like, wow, that looks really inconvenient over there.
No, it's not even inconvenient. It's just fun.
I mean, even not as a melee, like the game for a few years now has kind of like pretty hard conditioned me to be like, okay, Chariot is on the inner ring, or Dynamo is on the inner ring. Chariot is, you know, the point blank AoE is like max melee, and I got burned a couple times because I'm just so used to it. So it's really good to see that get mixed up a little bit. You know, it's yeah.
As a job that, I mean, can move, but historically is associated with planting, especially with your ley lines. Did you ever feel like, Biff, that those point blanks were actually something that pretty directly influenced you as well, with how you had to position for moments like that?
Yeah, for sure. Like it changed how I was allocating like my instant casts and stuff. Whereas before, with like more aggressive movement or timed like at the end of one overflowing into the other, you could kind of like cover both. But now with just the further movement and the fear that further, like more so than the actual sizes, the fear that those sizes put into me made me kind of play it that little bit extra safer. And, you know, the fact it was different, I guess, is what I'm saying, which is good, right?
Right. And I guess that's kind of the key, is that Dancing Green is an introduction to different without really straying from Final. Like, everything at its core is, hey, they added pairs or roles or light parties to like everything, and then it's like a lot of it is just slightly enhanced over normal. That's pretty standard for a first fight. Mm-hmm. And Dancing Green acts as that introduction to the rest of the ideas the tier is going to give you, but doesn't. It's very thematically on point, but at the same time, it just doesn't do anything drastic. Like the dancing is all cool, but like this is a fight I would see like tanks complaining about from a boredom standpoint, right? There's nothing that the tanks do that is special. There's nothing the healers do that's special. Everyone is doing the same thing, which has been kind of like a point of contention. So is this one of those things where the vibes just kind of outwin the fact that it kind of falls into some of those design traps that people have complained about?
I think so. I also think like it's important how the pieces are put together, and I think that's what a lot of times makes or breaks first floors, right? Because they can still, like, even with the basic core concepts, can still be like really fun to execute on. And I think Dancing Green does a good job of like keeping the pace up relatively, right? You're kind of always doing things in that fight. It's very rare that it's just like, oh, he's just standing here autoing the tanks 4 times into a buster, you know? So I think that helps a lot. It just feels like a very active, engaging fight.
Yeah, there's generally not a. I think I can think of like 2 points in the fight where there's just a bunch of autos before something happens, and even then it's like 2 or 3, not 7.
Yeah.
What's a boss that does like 7 autos somewhere? I'm trying to think of a spot. There's definitely a few.
Surely Eric Toney does.
Yeah, he's like 8, I think. I'm almost.
He does like 8 or he does like 8 or 9. Yeah.
I'm just like, bruh, is the enrage happening or sir? Yeah. But yeah, this fight, I resetting brain. While I definitely had a lot of fun, like I said, I think it's just the least memorable of the fights. Super solid fight. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy doing it and doing it on reclears. But it also exemplifies a trend that I think has to be acknowledged, and I wonder how people feel about it. Dancing Green is very much a peaks at middle age fight, where effectively the fight kind of ramps for 50%, and then once you get past this point, the difficulty just does this for like it's like a straight up like up and down, like it doesn't even like curve a little bit. And I will say I think that is a trend for the entire tier. I don't think that's a Dancing Green thing.
Yeah, this tier felt very kind of like Stormblood-esque in that regard. If you guys remember, 50% of the fight's done, and then it just repeats. Except in this case, everything new that the fight was really going to throw at you came in the first half, and then everything else was like a reiteration of it.
Yeah. I think that's very apparent. I think the very first pull we saw past the groove, we saw to enrage.
Yeah.
We did, yeah.
Yeah. Like, we just winged it for the rest. We're like, those are baits. Those are just, this is P8S, whatever. This is, that's all it was, like, over and over again.
Literally how it went, yeah.
Yeah.
It was like 3 pulls later after that we cleared, too. It was just, you got past the first half, it's done.
Yeah, and that's the thing I want to gauge, is like, is that something that you think is okay? Because it's not an actual repeat. I think the very end comes, like, it does a repeat, or it's more like a choke check at the very end than it is anything else. Like, here's the basics of shit you've done before, but just like, it's a very simple combination. For Dancing Green, it's like funky floor, 8th and 4th beats, and like the snap and twist. And that's
right.
That's all it is. That's like the choke check.
Because like, to be fair, I would say first Funky Floor with Disco Infernal is probably I would say a bit harder than the last one, where it's just 8 beats and quarter beats. It's just like you don't have to worry about spotlights. You're just worrying about your partner and yourself, and that's it.
Yeah, it's just it's basically a YOLO phase with like a half room or like something in between. Yeah. Do you like that design? The question is, do you guys like that design? Did you feel it took away from the fight when you realized that 50% you were kind of already done with the whole fight? Or did you think that it didn't impact the fight negatively, or that it wouldn't if they were to continue a similar design?
So anyone who's hung around me for a while knows that I crucify Stormblood fight design for this, especially Neo, right? Like Neo I will hammer on about for ages. I think as a trend, I'm not a fan of it, but I think this tier did it pretty well, where at least in Prague, the back end still felt engaging enough. The fact it's not a full-on repeat, I think, helps, but I think it's something that's really easy to mess up and make that, like, that drop you're talking about way too steep and make the rest of the fight feel, like, very uninteresting. So, like, once in a while, I think it's fine, especially if it means we get things like I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, especially if it means we get things like the ad phase at 6. You know, if that's, like, the price, I think it's fine once in a while, but I don't want this to go back to being the norm the way it was for pretty much the entirety of Stormblood.
Mm-hmm. I can think of one fight in Stormblood that didn't do it, and I applaud it, and that's 011.
Right, yeah, Battle Beetle's sick.
Yeah. He actually does the opposite. He just keeps upgrading himself and changing the attack every time and makes it harder. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yes, actually every mechanic gets harder the entire fight.
Mm-hmm.
So, clap, Omega. Good job. That's the last time I clapped for you in a very long time.
It's the last time I'll ever clap for Beetle, ever.
Doo-doo.
Don't. Stop.
We've got enough PTSD with the animals. We don't need the Beetle to come in. And Jitter, what about you? How do you, are you, I don't know. When did you, so I know Biff's raid history. I don't remember yours, Jitter. So do you have a similar experience with Stormblood?
I've been playing the game since 1.0, raiding since A Realm Reborn, so okay. I've done it all. It reminds me of Stormblood in that regard. I like that it's not like the exact same mechanic. You know, Hello World being the same mechanic in the second half plus one thing. It's kind of how I think about these.
It's after Hello World 2, that's the problem.
Yeah, it's after Hello World 2 where there's absolutely nothing new and it's just a repeat of everything. And I don't think this tier really did that. It had, like a rehash, slightly different. So, like we said, the quarter beat, the 8 beats during Funky Floor. It's a little bit different, just enough to not be the exact same mechanic. If they just did Disco Infernal again, it would have been kind of like, well, okay. But I kind of liked that they decided, let's throw different aspects into the final part and just make it a choke check instead of repeating. But I think with age, it'll age poorly if they continue with that design. I do like, the 011, everything gets harder, the further into the fight you get. But there's also kind of like a break point where if your most difficult mechanic is, 12 minutes into a fight and you just keep wiping there, people get like really annoyed. So it's an interesting balancing act that they'll have to find.
Yeah, what's more annoying, it being 12 minutes into the fight and people wiping, or Light Rampant?
I'll take Light Rampant over, say, having Light Rampant 12 minutes into the fight.
Worm's Lament 2 has its moments.
Yeah. One simple mistake, and you're right back to hearing the... Dun, 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 dun. Every time.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you're like, man, Isolate's so easy. Everyone dies.
Someone's freeze didn't get cleansed, and you just watch the tower explode, and you're like, oh.
I loved PF being like, it sucks how after Light Rampant, it's so easy. And I'm like, bro, you have not PF'd that fight. You have not witnessed 3 people getting petrified by the fucking mirrors every time. Just look away from the mirror. What's the problem?
Stunned. Dead. Every time. Funny, that trend continued into Fru.
It sure did. Not nearly to the same degree, though.
Oh,
not even
much easier to dodge them now, but it still happened.
Yep, still does from time to time. Then we get into 6, which obviously is the biggest hot button topic of the entire community at the moment. Because, Yoshi P did say he was curious how people would react to this character, and you know what? I think he might have meant the Yan the entire time and not the Lalafell.
Yeah.
I have two sides. Kills you, kills you.
So, this, I think, is where everyone starts to look at the fight design and go, oh, this is what they meant when they said they wanted to do things a lot differently. Because, oh boy, does it. So, right from the get-go, even the Tank Buster right at the beginning goes, this isn't Endwalker anymore. So it's a Tank Buster that it's an in-out, requires party position, and requires tanks to manage debuffs the entire time to make sure they understand which one's first, which one's second. Not asking a whole lot, but it's still more than almost all the Endwalker Tank Busters combined ask you to do.
Yeah. And especially having like maybe one person out of place can, fuck the entire party up.
God Kefka players, remember how that feels. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. But this I think if every fight was like similar quality to this for the rest of Dawn Trail, I don't think anyone would argue about kind of the best fight design of all Final Fantasy XIV collectively across an expansion. Because they
crazy.
Yeah, they really knocked it out the park with M6 in every regard. The music, the boss, the mechanics, the complete change of stuff that we've come to expect from fights. It's all here.
Yeah.
And
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and it's a fucking Lalafell.
Yeah, I subconsciously didn't even realize how much I had just written off the possibility of a true fight like this. You know what I mean? It was so far gone that it didn't even enter my head as a possibility, especially for a second floor. And I was really glad to see it.
Yeah, I didn't believe they'd be able to design an ads phase that was both difficult and interesting ever again. I was taking the bets that M7 we would see just the 4 plants and we'd have to petrify them and that's it. Even in our discussion I was like, it's just gonna be like Melusine all over again. We got to find a way to petrify them. Nope, the same as normal mode. And then M6 comes along and I'm getting flashbacks all the way to Coils with the Dreadnought one-shotting my tank, Just so I was like, holy moly, we are so back. I didn't think it was going to happen, and here we are.
Sly, you look like you're getting PTSD already having this discussion.
Can I just say one thing?
You can say as many things as
you
want, Sly.
Yeah.
Again, great fight design. So far, so good. I mean, even with ads and everything and the PTSD that a lot of people will have.
Because of them.
Because of them. But even before then, can I just say, never have I screamed so loud, this bitch can eat a grilled dick sandwich, more than whenever, as a melee.
Grilled dick.
When you're doing cactus dodges, right? It's funny because that's a 2-minute, right?
Mm-hmm.
Getting defamation as a melee fucking sucks there.
Yes, it does.
I fucking hate it, and that's why I scream this bitch can kick rocks every time I get picked.
It's funny, people have figured out where to stand to make that much easier. And the northwest corner is apparently the God corner. There's very little movement that happens. And you basically are either in the corner or out of the corner on the north wall, and that's it. And so that will probably be what people do. And then the defamations just exit east and south, which you'll still hate that, but deal with it.
Oh, I still do. Yeah, fuck. Still. Yeah, fuck this bitch.
But wait, Sly, you have elusive jump, just enhanced piercing talon.
True.
No, true. That's what Whoops was doing.
Whoops. I literally can like freeze frame so many places in Prague where I see him elusive jump into. He will arm's length on purpose to backflip during a knockback to land in his intended spot to then enhanced piercing talon from said spot.
That's my goat.
It's 350 potency Sly. It's pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah.
It is. It is.
Just crit the
I
enhanced piercing talon.
can't speak on those defamations too much. I was playing Viper. I just threw Uncoiled Fury and
Yeah, of course you.
hey, it was
Yeah, you're
it
a
was-
Viper. You have.
Hey, before that I was on Red Mage just casting spells. But also, you know, that goes into another part of that fight that I like is that your job choice can really impact how quickly or how much you struggle with those ads.
For
Oh, yeah.
now. That will go away
For
very
now.
soon.
Oh
I
no,
don't think-
with gear that disappears, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cactus phase though, it's funny because I saw the cactus as a normal and I went, "Oh, here's Honeybee 2.0."
it's
happen.
literally the same mechanic.
Yeah, and until the difference is this one could be solved for the easiest movement, whereas Honeybee, everyone like gaslit themselves into thinking it could be solved.
Watch, yeah, rotate through 3 different strats just to settle back on. I don't know, man. Just don't stand in the B.
Yeah, I mean that's what it was. Here it's like for several pulls you don't understand there's patterns, but you kind of start to think there is, and then you start seeing them. You go, okay, I go here, 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 and I'm done. And you're like, oh, thank God. All right, but still, also stop fucking making me move cactuses.
Yeah,
Cacti.
That middle dodge that half our group was doing. Oh,
I don't know. It seemed fine to me. I'm just hit the boss.
yeah, true.
right.
What are you gonna say, Bev?
I was gonna say, I think I got hit more going to that southwest corner, which I now know is the corner you should never go to, than trying to do that middle dodge. That place
Yeah,
is awful.
statistically speaking, the southwest corner is the worst corner to do the dodges in, and that is, I think Biff and I both were trying to dodge in the southwest corner half the time, and it was just like,
Yeah.
oh God, stop.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Please, why are there so many cactuses?
Cacti. Don't shake your head at me for having grammar. I don't even actually. Is cacti plural or singular? I don't.
It's plural.
It's plural.
It's
There we
plural.
go. I couldn't remember. Fuck it. The I means more, I guess. I means me. Means us. We. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, and then the rest of that's probably the most like not creative part. Like the wings being stuck to you and being forced to jump across is something is also definitely something they would have shied away from historically, because standing in melee range is almost certainly going to send you into the wall. So you have to back out and then also land in the corner and then also quickly split up into the 4 groups or the 2 groups.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have done that in previous expansions.
No.
Forced disengage into loss of character control, like in terms of like having a short stun, is like, when's the last time we had that in Savage? Right? It's been a
Have we
while.
had that? I don't even remember.
Force character control. I mean, anytime we get maybe a force march.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Things like Force March, little stuns like that. It's been
Yeah.
a hot minute. And I mean, I think that mechanic was really cool. I was really, really vibing with that. Because it
Hippocampus.
takes like what's normally a pretty standard thing, which is like pairs and light parties, and just
Yeah.
makes it feel different and interesting, you know?
Yeah.
So kudos to them for that.
Yeah, it's again, it's the crazy thing is these aren't even new design decisions. They're just design decisions they have abandoned over the years because of player feedback. They're like, our players are like, that stun annoys me. I guess we'll never do it again.
Do it again. I beg
Now
you,
they're-
do it again.
This is a case of them pulling a Blizzard and being like, you don't know what you want, and actually maybe being right.
Yeah.
It's like, no, really, you did want something that was more interesting. Just, maybe not every single mechanic, but you definitely wanted something that was not us never doing anything like that again. And winning. Now, we get through that, and then you get to the ads, and you see the slimes come out. You're like, holy shit, okay, brand new mechanic. This wasn't a normal at all. And you see the puddings, and you're like, that makes sense. She's a pudding, you know. She's got that she got the feral soul for the pudding, the flan, whatever. And then you see the little fucking ram and this little fucking cat and these 2 squirrels, and you're like, oh, well,
Here we
And then
go.
your tank's dead.
and then the tank's dead.
Yeah.
Then the Yan is running rampant on your entire party.
Yep.
He sure is. That's exactly what happens. And I don't know about you guys, but I saw those ads and I thought that was going to be it.
Yeah. Just like the first wave. Yeah.
Yeah, the first wave happened and I'm like, oh, okay, you know, we'll have to deal with these. And then like something's going to happen while we're dealing with these, right? Well, the thing that happens is there's more ads.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then there's more ads. And then there's more ads. And then you realize the cat knows me. The cat steals your LB and also uses meteor if you don't kill it fast enough. And the Yan can't be close to the moose. And if the moose aren't killed fast enough, they blow up the whole raid. And the Jabberwock's locking your healers in place. And the Stingrays are tethering players and cutting off the arena. And you're like, oh, there's rules here.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I have to actually
Yep.
kill these in a specific order.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that was the big thing, because like even with references to what other people were doing, like if you were a little behind the other groups that were like a little ahead of that, it still wasn't entirely clear what the right decision was up until you just kind of logicked out enough basics. You needed to know every wave and you needed to logic out what every wave's like kind of internal timer was. And that made progressing through that fight in a blind setting among the most engaging progressing mechanics that wasn't in an ultimate in I don't know how long.
Yeah.
I'd argue it was harder than most of Fruit to proc.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. It was one of those things where, like, I was so surprised to see a phase like that in Savage. I was buying into, I think it was Keo, who was like, oh, we have to feed some of the ads to the cat. That was much more, like, in my mental box of what I would expect more, like, modern day, referring to, like, Endwalker onwards 14 to look like. But then just, it's just straight up do the ads and do it fast or explode. It's cool.
Yeah, there's so many micro enrages throughout that. Like, there's the Yan getting close to the Moo is one, but the Yan just hitting your tank and not being killed is bad enough to consider it like almost enrage worthy. Like, your tank could just not out survive what the Yan is doing, and which is just that's it. Just a little
Poor
headbutt.
Keo getting beat up on for like literally 3 whole
Yeah.
minutes.
I mean, for our group, right, we had me do something a little bit different than I know what a lot of people ended up with, where instead of peeling off to help with the cleave at the end, I just went and killed one of the Yans, so that way he wasn't in mortal peril. You know, he wasn't just dead, smeared to the concrete. So that was, you know, but things like that are cool, right? Because if there aren't like, things like that, those decisions, like those group-to-group decisions, only happen when phases make you, like, think and engage with them, and it's not just, like, do the dance and hit the boss.
Yeah, and this did that in spades. Like, and what's nice is it also acts as a semi self-solving. Like, as you progress through it, the phase begins to self-solve, but you still have to weigh some light options because, like, the Jabberwock and Rage is effectively reaching the healer. Because after that, it's just you're down a person and playing catch up from there is not bad. But the Moo and Rage is about to show up. So how do you get both of those things handled while still making sure the first Yan dies before the second Yan shows up? And making sure the cat doesn't reach the meteor, and that the Stingrays are picked up and don't consume too much of the arena.
Mm-hmm.
So they stack like 3 or 4 different pretty short enrages and just make you weigh what each one will do. Because the Stingray's not going to hard enrage you, but when your arena's cut off, that is the enrage. It's a soft enrage among several hard enrages.
Yeah.
So the decision-making process is very intense week 1 there. It will not continue to be so, and I think that
You'll outgear it.
yeah, you'll definitely outgear. And it's one of the rare cases where I think everyone's looking forward to outgearing a phase.
Yeah.
Another thing, like, you have to take into consideration, which, like, never really thought I'd have to, like, think about this, is single targeting versus AoE, and which one should you kind of prioritize during that? Because like you're kind of with you know all these rules stacked on top of each other. You're kind of like, okay, pull these together and we'll AoE them down, or it'll probably be a 2 minutes. Or this thing needs to die. Do I want to just single target, or do I just want to like nuke everything? Like, if this thing should die first, I should just probably single target. You know, I've never really, that thought process has not come up in a long fucking time in a fight, in a savage fight.
No.
Yeah.
Just hasn't. Like, they just abandoned it for so long. And it's just a nice surprise to have.
The furthest you ever had to think about it was, what's a gain on 2, right? Like, even that was exceedingly rare.
Yeah. Whereas here, even the small thought, like we started having players stack together to put the cat's AoE in a spot that let us murder it fast.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's like, get this fucking cat out of here. And it's like, no, I'm bringing the cat in. This is way better if the cat's here.
yeah.
And that, because that cat is a range. I never thought I'd be pissed about downtime on range, but that cat jumping to the other side of the fucking room, I was like,
dude. Being up northwest, there's a puddle dropping on me. The cat's just jumping around in the southern corner of the room, and I'm like, oh, well, this sucks.
Can't hit that guy.
He jumps onto the ideal tank,
The ideal situation with that cat is he just, very beginning of the fight, he jumps on the yam that your tank has, and you just kill him.
You're muted, Sly.
I was saying I love it when that happens.
That's my favorite.
I actually started, as a bard, I started getting selfish. I was like, I want to stand on the tank with the moose and put him on the moose, and then Apex blast the moose, the boss, and the Yan while I'm targeting the cat.
That's why it kept going over there.
No, I never did it, but I thought of doing it. They'd only went over there when the tanks were standing, when he chose the tank. But if he did, I was like, I'll take it. I will take it for the cleave. And I was like, if I was Dancer, I wouldn't have to think about that, huh?
No, probably not.
No, Dancer probably does pretty well on that face. I think how everyone had to learn new AoE rotations, and Machinist is like, my single target rotation is my AoE rotation. Shut up. Just shut up.
Well,
I will double check checkmate, and I will like it. All right.
True.
They just made it worse, dude. They just made the actual AoE worse, and they made the fucking other AoE better. Well, they technically made they made double check and checkmate better, and they made, I think it was like 5% worse for scattergun and auto crossbow, and it's like,
yeah, machinists have other things to worry about right now.
Like whether or not they're allowed to play.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I've seen some people disallowing Machinist in PF. But PF, Machinist has cleared M8S. They have done
it. It took until yesterday, right? Yesterday was the first one.
Yeah, it was like yesterday evening.
Yep. It was yesterday evening when a Machinist finally cleared.
Hey, Summoner's cleared too. Insane.
That doesn't surprise me, though. It's not like the check is crazy. It's just like there's a power dynamic at play.
Mm-hmm.
Like for ad phase, I understand being a little hesitant to have Machinists. For M8S, I don't. You know what I mean? It's just like people who can play Machinist or play Summoner can also probably play something that isn't those two, and they probably will in week 1. It's not really about the jobs not being able to do it. It's just the people who would won't.
Right, yeah, because there's just, this is like the thing regarding that, and now we're kind of getting a bit. But, like, Machinist just doesn't bring anything. At least Summoner has, like, some stuff that you could conceivably argue that you would rather have, right? Like, Machinist has Dismantle, I guess, but... Yeah.
But where do you need Dismantle? I can think of, like, a couple of spots, and that's it. Like, on the Yan, just Dismantle Yan.
Sure.
Like a Dismantle at the end? Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. And they can just do their single target rotation to AoE. What's the big deal?
Dismantle in M8, pretty good.
Yeah, I can think of a few spots for that. I had a Machinist say that the most exciting thing that they did was the Stingrays. They can just channel a flamethrower and it'll instantly pick up.
That is awesome, actually.
They were like, my fucking melees are not taking this from me. I don't care.
Me when I take the stingray. Oh no.
Mistakes have been made, guys. Kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it.
We have to kill this really fast.
One thing I really like that the PF did that is different than what we did. I was talking about it on stream. So in our group, we basically assigned Biff to one side of the room and me to the other for the stingrays. If we had swapped Biff to my side, you guys would have killed his first. So my side already has 2 water puddles when we get to the second stingray. So if Biff takes that side and you all murder that side, I don't get 9 puddles like I do now. Because you guys are going to murder that one. Whereas the other side of the room is completely empty. And so I can now like kite them around that side of the room and not do it. So that's what the PF does. They make it so that the range swaps sides, but you still follow the caster. And that was one little innovation that I liked. I wish we had thought of that.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. That was good. Good job, PF. Whoever thought of that. You'll never hear me say that again. But good job.
That's crazy. Yeah, good job, PF.
That one gets the definite. At first I was confused. I was like, why the fuck would you do that? Okay. But the ad phase, honestly, while the ad phase is the standout here, I do think that what they did with both the Sugarscapes are at the very least creative and fun enough, especially the second Sugarscape, which I will say, while I think the fight peaks and then gets easier, the second Sugarscape is definitely harder than the first Sugarscape. At least I think it is.
I agree.
You agree?
Yeah, just like there's a lot more urgency in it. Like in the first Sugarscape, it feels like, oh, you got hit by a cactus. Like, yeah, it's not great. You got a damage down. But like you make an error on that second one and you're probably getting smashed, right? And or like if it's a tower, might just be a wipe straight up. There's a lot more penalty, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The second Sugarscape is the water in the bridges, Sly, in case you're...
Yeah, oh, yeah. Water, bridges, lightning. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And there's a lot of really good skill expression in that phase, too, especially with... I like when Final Fantasy players... There's 2 kinds in this one regard. There's the players that understand the AoE hasn't gone off yet, and the players that think that it's dangerous the moment it starts glowing. And in that lightning phase, people are generally averse to running underneath the super cloud while it's moving, and they will take the worst movement that they like, oh, fuck, I'm like cut off in like 6 different ways going this way. But the other way has no lightning bolts blocking me. I could go that way, but they're like, no. I'm going this way with all the lightning bolts in the way. And so it's nice to see, like, Kyo did that in Arclear, where he just saw the other way was cut off. He said, fuck it, I'm going around. I'm going far. And I like that you can make that stand, because people notice immediately when you're the player who's willing to do that. And they're like, yo, that guy's the fucking MVP right there. Mm-hmm. And I like when that stands out when you're doing something like really basic in a fight. Like, it's not even that crazy of a skill set, but it is nice to just see that those moments can be had where that one player who just understands the assignment on that one tier higher can squeeze something out for a moment like that. I will say this, the PF has a strat for the lava that I knew was going to happen. And it's called Tank LB3, the final towers.
I'm not going to lie. I really kind of wanted us to in Prague, just because it's one of those mechanics where there's just no reason not to, right? Like, you're how many minutes in, like 9, 10, whatever, there's not that much left in the fight. Just rip the Tank LB. It's like the last thing in the fight that's really going to wipe you,
Yeah.
Moving forward, do we see this as do you see this as something just to get through Prague, or is it something that will be that's a permanent, not necessarily a PF edition, but more, for statics, hey, just get through the fight?
For my money, always do it. There's just especially for the purposes like just doing re-clears or whatever. Like, why not? You don't need the melee LB on the second floor, right? Especially as we get more and more gear. There's just no reason to chance it, I think.
Yeah, the other thing is, I think it's a little fresh on people's minds because Zillennia, the PF, pretty quickly adopted tank LBing Bloom 6 because it's the same threat. It's a bunch of towers, you're at the end of the fight, and you can survive the blade, the attack. Like, you can't survive the towers failing if you're one of the players with the magic vault, even with tank LB, but everyone can survive the blade even without the tank LB. So by tank LBing and just standing in the towers and just eating shit, you pretty much ensure that that's going to be a clear.
You don't even need the fucking LB.
You don't need the tank LB, but we all know that the PF... Listen, if I had a nickel for every time a boss didn't have Reprisal, Addle, and Feint, or I didn't have a Scholar using shields, I would retire. Okay? Like, when I sucker / consultation before a raid wide, I feel like I'm a fucking unicorn in the PF. All right? Yeah. They're like, listen, if the shields weren't left over from the last mechanic, you're not getting them. So leave me the fuck alone. So I just mitt is never something like if I'm the healer and I'm like a scholar and I know I will deploy soil, illume, like all of it. Great. If I'm not the healer, I'm too afraid to I'm just saying fucking rip the tank LB. I'm not willing to put up with it.
Yeah.
It's like
better to live than to wipe.
Yeah, always better. Like, I used to just tell people to tank LB, I think it was Third Eyes on Thornton Extreme, on Thornton Unreal. I think it's the one where it's like the knight dashes through the room and you have to split and then get knocked back into like I don't know, whatever. Yeah. I just said, fuck it, just tank LB this. I'm not willing to teach you all how to do it.
Yeah, no, I mean, my great thing for Leviathan, for Tsunami 2, just... That way, the only thing you had to worry about was the cones, and everyone else just kind of like stands around, right? And it makes things so much easier when people can just do what they need to, especially that late into a fight.
Chat's like, to this day, I still don't know how to do Cachexia 2.
People were tank LBing that in Prague and still clearing.
Yeah, so then they were like, everyone else was like, we are either skipping it or we are tank LBing. If you were in PF and you had a healer LB before Cachexia 2 and you knew you weren't skipping it, you were like,
it's a wipe.
It's a wipe. You get the rare PF that actually knows how to do it, and you're like, holy shit. I two-shot Suzaku Unreal today, and I was shocked. Like, two-shot, like, for telling and retelling both, and I was shocked.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I was like, made a PF with stream, and I was like, all right, guys, let's do it. Oh my god. Well, the second one we killed it, with 6 people dead to the enrage, but you know, it was a kill. Still counts.
Kill's a kill. Boss died, got loot. Who cares?
All done. Yeah, Raining Cats is the same deal, and it's at the end, just fucking tank LB. I think people really like the idea of saving for healer LB and not thinking about how good the tank LB is that's saving you from ever needing to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's better to just not die in the first place, right? Which tank LB can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the sustained damage from the towers in M6 is not that bad when it's snapshotted. It's the AoE after that people forget, but snapshotting that and then snapshotting the low damage sustained, the low dot definitely probably works better. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so, and I will say M6 is the one fight that actually does repeat a mechanic at the end. It does just do the first wing motif exactly the same, but your boss is probably dead before you even notice that, or just barely dead after you notice that. So it's not like it's like 5% of the boss's health where they're repeating something. Yeah. So the only major offender of that, and not even a major offender, a minor offender. Mm-hmm. Then we get on to M7, which was the fight that before even pulling the boss, I was shocked.
Oh yeah. You thought we were gonna be.
You thought it was gonna be in the final area. Yeah.
Yep. I was like, oh, fuck. They're actually doing it, which again was a great surprise because, like Biff said with the ad phase, I wrote off that they would ever do that.
Yeah.
Guys, the name of the I was about to get to how it's like the fight is normal plus, and I saw the chat call normal and then I looked at Jitter's picture and I said normal and I was like, God.
Yeah.
Normal. Yeah, this fight was kind of the best example of, hey, this is normal but harder. That I think 14's done I don't know if they've ever done a normal but harder fight that's quite like this. I don't know if you felt that way. I felt like it was just normal plus, but also really fucking good.
Yeah. So, a little bit of a disclaimer here. I tend to be more forgiving on these normal plus kind of fights than a lot of people. I liked Fatebreaker. I even liked P11, which I know that's the one that a lot of people kind of really didn't mesh with. I liked that fight quite a bit, but I think this was far and away their best execution of it.
Yeah, chat saying Black Cat. I did not feel like Black Cat was normal plus. I mean, the very first mechanic is literally something that is not even remotely close to how it works in normal mode. The like baits with the slashes into like light parties or like that immediately was like well beyond what this is. Literally like the boss's attack order is like the fucking exact same thing for the first like 4 minutes, but there's more AoEs on the ground. Like it couldn't be more similar to the normal mode if it wanted to. And I would say I'm not more or less forgiving. I just need it to be done well. Oh yeah. I mean, honestly, I always say P11 gets more. If Fatebreaker didn't exist, P11 wouldn't get as much flack as it does, is what I've always said. Because it wasn't just normal plus, it was also Fatebreaker 2. So it like compounded the two. So people are like, what the fuck? This is just Fatebreaker, but not as cool because I've done this before.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So this was like I'll call it, this fight was kind of insane. I know it didn't take as long to prog because it didn't have any wall like the ad phase did, but it had its own gimmicks and struggles that, again, are very out of the norm because of the way they decided to hop between the arenas. And I could not be more excited at the idea of having lots of different arenas in a Savage fight.
Yeah, lots of different arenas with like different constraints on them too, I think is the big thing, right? Like that second arena, there becomes a real concern around like, oh, I can actually get too far away from the boss, right? And it changes how people are playing and little things like when he's doing the line AoEs, right? Like since it's not like a uniform square, it changes how you have to do your spreads and your dodges, and it's not the hardest thing in the world, but it keeps you interested. It keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, Jitter, you got to play several different roles and jobs in this fight. I'm very curious to hear how any of this felt to you.
I had a great time. If we're talking M7, I spent the majority of the time on Red Mage and then swapped to Monk for 5 pulls before we cleared it. And it's pretty good, I think. Glower Power was very interesting to play around. The seeds dropping everywhere was interesting. Watching the ads just absolutely blow up when I swapped to Monk. Like, we were like, oh yeah, we're worried about these going off with me on Red Mage, swaps to Monk. Now just kill him.
Yeah, with gear, it's like, guys, make sure we let them live to get to the wall first, just...
Yeah. That fight's going to be really interesting with gear because the way you have to handle some stuff is just going to change.
I don't think too much. I think the biggest concern is if you're cleaving the boss during the end, you have to... honestly, if the ads die at the end, it's probably for the better, which was what we decided. We were like, wait, what if we kill the ads so they don't move?
True.
So if anything, it might actually improve the quality of life on the second ad phase more than change things and make them weirder, which is hilarious. But man, they just like... The first phase is pretty straightforward. I think everyone kind of gets through that and figures it out, at least to some capacity. I think there's a little bit of visual clarity problems in the first phase, especially with the seed drops with the AoEs on the ground, and then getting the like actually seeing the impact cast took us. We basically had to notice that the impact cast even happened. We're like, wait, what is killing me there? And it's like,
yeah, our healers would just randomly get one shot, and we're like, what is happening?
I'd be like, guys, dodge. You'd be like, I did. Yeah, and then that adds a really interesting dynamic to that whole mechanic of like how you handle the spacing. I think that's the big thing the fight does really well, is it forces players to be in really unconventional spots for mechanics, but still need to very quickly adjust to something the boss is doing.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that be the seed baits early with the ground AoEs, with the followed up expanded AoEs, with needing to do light parties and the thing, or even later when you're trapped against all the walls and you're like still trying to dodge everything while managing how much damage you take because you really can't go far from the wall while managing a 2-minute window to boot because fuck you, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they really it's a cage match. The first one was a literal cage match. This one has a lot more like cage matchy vibes, which makes sense because, and my first one I mean Brute Bomber and now Brute Abominator actually like cages you and really traps you into everything.
Yeah.
But the first phase again, more normal plus, but that second platform, as a fizz ranged, I never thought I'd say that.
That second platform is interesting to me because how difficult or undifficult that part is left to player agency.
Yes.
How so?
Because the hardest part is Sinister Seeds. Like, not having half your players just eat it to an overlap or getting a damage down.
And you could have two, like, you could either have, like, two tanks trapped on one side, no one gives a shit. But when you have your two range trapped on one side, it very quickly changes how you think about the mechanic.
And am I glad
it goes from, whatever, to nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I was like, give Biff that spot because he can cast all the way from the wall. Fuck me though, right?
Yeah.
Especially our strat. Our strat was not made with the idea of me being allowed to hit the boss all the time. It was like healers want to be able to reach everyone. Biff absolutely needs to be able to hit him during all times. Me, fuck that guy.
Hey, you got your
acceptable losses.
Nah.
He's right though. It wasn't acceptable because we had like I went back on our kill and we had like 13 damage downs and like a death or something, and it was still a kill even on week 1. So yeah, Sly, I see your confused face.
It's that forgiving.
Forgiving's not the right word. It's more like they probably expected without gear for some of these phases to really fuck with you.
Yeah.
And they were right.
It's also worth noting, like, we were playing what's probably close to the highest damage comp you can bring, right? And, like, these fights are built generally with leeway for playing, like, having a summoner instead of a black mage in the slot, you know? So that helped give us some wiggle room, too.
Yeah, I could definitely see comps with, like, suboptimal, I'll say, like, just by the numbers, jobs not having concerns if everyone's playing well, even week 1. Like
for sure.
On our clear, if we had half as many damage downs, which are 35%, I believe was the number that the community came up with for these ones. If we had half as many and we had a summoner instead of a black mage, it would have been fine. Like we literally wouldn't have, it would have been a clear still the same. That's with some mistakes, with a death. I don't doubt that for a second. Just black mage is really fucking good right now. So, you know.
Yeah, it is.
Black mage is like, yeah, pick those. Yeah. It was great, wasn't it? Yeah.
Was.
Was. But you know what? I saw a lot of Pictos being played this tier too, so it's not like it was terrible. It just
all you do is
isn't the
filler
king
now anyway. So
anytime you need to move, you just pop hammer, get 3 GCDs of running across the entire arena. It's it's all right.
I have a question, Biff. By the numbers, I know that hammer is a only if you really need to thing right now.
Yeah.
How is that on AoE? Is it true in AoE like an ad phase too? Or is it only true on just the main boss?
So this is the part where I admit to you, before the tier, I didn't look because I didn't think that was relevant for Savage.
To be fair, I agree.
Yeah, but thinking about it off the top of my head, no, it should still be good in AoE, right? Like, especially as you add more targets. So, yeah, Picto's probably really good for that ad phase, honestly.
Yeah, and then subsequently has at least some added value in 7, to some degree.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
because those do still need to die.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, hitting the Jabberwock and 4 moves with hammers. Yeah, I can imagine that being pretty decent. Hammer, Palm, whatever, Medine, I suppose, in that. Yeah, you would probably hold Medine from your 2s there instead of blowing it on the Stingray and then just use Medine when the Jabberwock comes out. So that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
So, okay. Just, I figured it was worth it just because Picto has been kind of laughed out of its spot at this point. Like, everyone has ragged on Picto, even though it's still not technically bad. It's just kind of an ass backwards design to make the motif so unvaluable in most scenarios.
Yeah. I think more than anything else, it just feels weird to play now. Like, having one of your big buttons, which is like hammer, just not feel great is just kind of meh.
Yeah. That's definitely a strange one. But hey, Viper fucks. So they're back.
True.
Yes, it do.
I think it was like one of the top jobs in all 4 fights, if I recall.
It is. It is the breadwinner right now. It's like at least 1k above the next highest melee in almost every fight.
Viper. And you know what? I'm giving some of that credit to Uncoiled Fury on its own. Just that one button.
Oh, no, it definitely... Virtually 0 downtime in any fight if you use Uncoiled Fury, like, intelligently. It's good. It's super strong.
While not taking... I think the only melee job that people are kind of like, is Ninja right now. I think it's the one where they... Because you're choosing between Ninja and Viper when you're scouting, and you're like...
That's what our Viper is choosing between right now.
I think as soon as you saw like 4+ targets, you put the Viper Jobstone on and call it a day. Because you virtually don't have to change how you would play the job in a single target scenario, but you can also hit everything on the screen.
Yeah.
And whereas when you play Ninja and suddenly there's 4 or 5 targets on the screen, you're no longer hitting Raiton, you're hitting, Katon and throwing down Dotons and radically changing how you would play it. So there's a little bit more thought process that goes into it. So it's just kind of like the option is there. It does really well with how the fights are designed. I may as well play it. That's not to say Ninja is bad for this tier. It's just Viper kind of does everything that it does, but better besides give a raid buff.
Yeah. Viper also has had kind of a tumultuous experience where it came out, was super strong. Everybody loved it. They completely changed its play style to make it, basically no buff management much at all. They kind of just eliminated any thought process that was remaining. People ragged on it for that. Then in Fru, it was not good in the first couple of phases, so people ragged on it. So it's been like Viper's never been necessarily bad, but it's been given such a bad rep since like a month after it came out that I think it kind of shocks people that it is in the spot that it's in right now. They've just like used to being like, oh, fucking Viper, man.
People, because I think Fru definitely changed the perception of Viper very negatively. Like, yeah, it's great in phase 5, it's great in phase 4, but those early phases that everybody was progging, they'd see a Viper and just be like, great, we might enrage phase 1, phase 2 is going to be a little tight, and it just kind of got that bad rap. But like in lightweight prog, Viper was also pretty strong. It handled everything lightweight throughout it well. I think it's just genuinely a good Savage job. Because Savage doesn't have extended periods of downtime where you can't hit a boss at all. And that's where the job suffers, when it can't generate any form of gauge or do anything that can benefit it or spend anything. And then, Savage, I peel off the boss for 1 or 2 GCDs. Okay, Uncoiled Fury. Okay, I can hit the boss all the way until, the end of time, until it falls over.
You want to take my cage next week then? While you're...
Hey, if I have 3 Uncoiled Furies and
no, you don't want the answer is still no. Trust me.
I know it. I know the answer is no.
Meanwhile, if I'm not in the 2-minute, I'm just chucking spears.
Yeah, piercing enhanced. Make sure you elusive jump. You want enhanced piercing talent.
It is more potency than your wheeling thrust or fang and claw.
Nah, but I gotta save that for movement though. In M7, I gotta move around. He jumps around. I gotta move, man.
Well,
True.
use it to move, and then you enhance piercing talon.
Yeah.
I shit you not when Whoop said he was having fun figuring out where to use enhanced piercing talon. He wasn't kidding.
No, he wasn't kidding. It's actually pretty fun. I was taking a look at it myself. It's good. It's good design. When I finally get to utilize things in my kit that, otherwise we're kind of just like, it's there, I have it. And then now it's like, I have to use this. Like
Samurai's using the kickback for movement in the same way. They don't do it like deliberately like piercing talon, but the NP usage has probably been mildly fun as well at some points.
The MP usage in 7 is probably insanely fun.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah, 7 7 breaks the curse as far as I'm concerned for not good second tier, third fights. I think it does.
Yeah.
You know what? The thing I like about 7, which is normally my contention with third turns, is, oh man, it's going to be a wall boss, whatever. They're just like, oh, so you kind of like wall bosses, but don't like them, but you want a boss that's also like a regular one? Well, have both.
Yeah, pretty much. Just hops around all over the fucking place.
Especially that last phase where he goes from being on the wall to in the middle of the arena to on the wall again to, it's fun. It's good.
Yeah.
It's memorable even.
Even the second phase where they just don't equally space out the fucking buildings that he can jump to. Like you're actually like in a residential district that's not built perfectly uniformly. And he's like, yeah, you better be ready because I could be either or of these configurations and I could jump to either of the other two at any point.
He's like, I might jump to the far left. I might jump to the middle. Adapt.
Yeah, that's it. It's just a really well done fight. It's just one of those cases where it's really not that different from normal, but everything that is different is really satisfying to do. So it doesn't really let down. Not to mention the music is just hype anyway, without that. So,
it's my favorite theme of the tier, hands down.
Yeah, that's a good one. Then we get to M8, which also a top tier finale in terms of bosses, in my opinion. Really a pacing related job, and I'll give them credit where credit's due. They finally figured out how to hide the second arena before we get there. Everyone in M4 normal, everyone's like, there's another arena back there on the minimap.
Just looking at what's that doing there?
I mean, hell, you see it in M7. You see it in M7 as well.
Yeah, in M7, but in M7, normal and Savage are the same. So you're just like, as soon as you start on the first arena, you're like, okay, I already know what the rest is.
Yeah.
But in M8, you're like, only one arena. Sounds like wall boss coming up. And they're like, it's a donut boss. It's a lily pad boss. However you want to fucking call it. It's Orbone with teleporters.
Sid, yeah.
The Nether.
The Nether. He said that every time we got there.
I could barely hear him in our clear VOD because you decided to talk at the same time.
It's good. It means it couldn't be heard clearly. We finally found the solution.
I didn't hear him say chicken jockey in M6 until I went back and listened to the audio. Chicken jockey.
My favorite thing is he started talking about that at M7 and I hadn't watched his clear VOD and I was like, yeah, I heard it. I didn't acknowledge it. And I bet you were just like, I'm going to kill myself after nobody acknowledged it. I watched the VOD exactly how it went.
I really have to make a 7TV emote that's just me highlighting whoops in Discord and muting.
That'd be us during every discussion where he points something out.
I loved in M8 where he had the joke and I'm like, to my own chat, I'm like, it's funnier if I don't say anything.
Oh, he was like, yes. It's like, guys, am I muted?
He said something to me about me being fantastic. I don't remember what it was. It was like a compliment of some kind. I just didn't acknowledge it. This guy,
and he's just, guys, am I muted? Can you
I
hear
was
me?
talking, just not to him. Do I chat? It's funnier if I say nothing.
was like, whoops, I think you're muted. Do you mind trying to say that again?
Yeah, whoops, were you saying something throughout that poll? Were you speaking?
And it was after that pool ended too, and he's just like, no, I wasn't saying anything.
But no, M8 was interesting. So first of all, M8 might be the smallest Savage Boss arena we've ever had for the base part, which really plays to the speed of the fight. It's just constantly zipping around the room and you figuring out what the ideal way of dealing with his nonsense is.
Yeah.
And that was fun. Biff,
Yeah,
you're the caster. I can imagine you had a thrilling time with this.
Yeah, I think it was really cool. I have a soft spot for fights that are built kind of like this, where it's not as complex or like puzzly, but he's just doing stuff the whole time, right? And lots of moving, high octane, just go, go, go. Like, and I think this is probably my favorite iteration of that they've done. Like, especially phase 1. It was super cool, especially like little things like when he's doing like Revolution, or what's the other one, Eminence, that's the other cast name.
Eminent,
Yeah, like the fact that there's no way to know where he's going, and like, yeah, you can kind of like option select where you're standing to play like high coverage, but at the end of the day you still just got to be ready to move to one of 3 spots, and it's not a ton of time to figure it out. Like, it's plenty, but it's enough that if you're a little bit slow on the draw, it can get you burned. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, Barbariccia Savage is how I would probably describe the speed here.
Mm-hmm.
That definitely tracks for the pacing of that fight.
Yeah, like I think you probably have, from the moment he does the first jump, probably about 3 seconds to be in the final spot after he does the first jump, the dash across into where you need to be. And given his movement options, you got to be like quick. I can't imagine doing that without sprint consistently, regardless of which movement option he makes you select. Like that's a sprint. If you don't have a scholar, it's a sprint moment for sure.
Yeah,
100%.
And I don't like, as a phys range event, it's not nearly as interesting as watching a melee need to save 2 like thunderclaps to like go across, dodge an AoE, go back across, get to the correct side.
Did you have fun watching me zip around the room like 4 different times during that mechanic?
I stopped. It was like trying to watch like Goku and Ultra Instinct. It's like I can't. I don't know.
It could have been so much worse. I wasn't doing stuff on the out pattern because I could have thunderclapped and hit the boss, thunderclapped back to the healer. I didn't want to because I was pretty sure it would cause us to wipe from the stun lock.
Not even from the stun lock. I think that the window to succeed there is also really small until you've done it a lot. And by the time you've done it once, you know everyone knows why, and you're like, okay, I'm not going to practice that again during Prague. That's it. It's like if we gave you enough time, it wouldn't even be a fear, but you know that you do it once, but like, don't do that.
Yep. I was confident I could do it too, but I was like, it's Prague. If I do this, it'll look really, really cool, but also what's the point?
Like, it would have been cool if we cleared when the cover Petrify happened in 7, but let's not do that on purpose.
The 1% enrage when he's petrified for 15 seconds.
Yeah, Sly, you'd like this. He got petrified by the attack. He was in the air because, petrifies you in the animation. So he's doing one of his Dragoon animations in the air.
He's doing Stardiver.
Yeah, he's like petrified during Stardiver. And then Keop covers him for the duration of his petrify so he doesn't die. And he's just in the middle of the room the whole time, just it's fantastic.
Hitting the coolest pose known to man.
Yeah, and then we wiped at 1%, so it wasn't part of the clear VOD. And you know what?
1% or 1% or point.
No, 1%. But you know what?
Like
would have made
1%
1% is 20 seconds of him hitting the boss, probably.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, cover mentioned, the rare cover mentioned.
Especially if he was in a 2-minute and doing Stardiver. Yeah.
I think that's a 1 minute there. I think
it was a 1 minute window.
Yeah.
It's still a lot of damage. Yeah, he lost the entirety of that lance charge.
Goodbye, lance charge. We salute. And then the one thing that I think people have a visceral reaction to is seeing a mechanic they thought wouldn't be in Savage because it was in normal, but not remembering that when something goes from being normal to being Savage, a lot of the times it's a lot less random. And the towers, I was massively surprised to see in M8. The fucking slices right towers. Except that they are much larger compared to the normal mode ones and far more predictable.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if anyone
easier to deal with than normal.
They're much easier. I hope everyone in the group knew how I was calling those and understood it by the end of what we were doing.
You were looking at the nulets and making sure that they weren't cleaving the safe spot that was next to the tower, right? That's how you were calling it?
Pretty much. I would line myself up with 1 and 3 because they're across from each other. If I see the line through, I know it's 1 or 3, and then I can eliminate the nulith. If I don't see the line, I know it's 2 and 4, and then I can process the nulith right after. So that was it. That was how I called that the entire time. Very, very simple mechanic. But then immediately after, there's another revolutionary and eminent, and then the ad phase, which they're doing ads, man. They're just doing ads.
Dude, can you believe that that's like 4.5 minutes into the fight? It didn't feel like it.
No, it really doesn't feel like it's like 4 minutes.
When I first saw this ad phase, like I immediately thought of T11.
Yeah. I think most people do. Who, if any of you were around for T11, in fact, Biff, didn't you call it T11 like multiple times?
Yeah, I
think
so.
High did for sure.
Yeah, it really gave off shades of that, right? I think anybody who'd been around for a while can see that and go, "Oh, you know."
Yeah, without even like a second guess. But with that comes a pretty interesting downside.
Yeah.
Coil is not known for being friendly to going too fast, and neither is this.
Yeah, that's like, I wish that there was a more elegant solution for that, because it's gonna be a problem. Like, this is gonna be a real problem coming up for people, and like, depending on like your group or if you're in PF, it might take a bit longer. But like, especially closing in on like week 6, 7, 8, when everyone's got their weapons, it's gonna be ugly in there. Cause you're just gonna have to stop for quite possibly a long time, and the fact that it's like kind of random who gets swapped to what and when is just going to make it worse, because you're not even going to have like a consistent feel from pole to pole in the same group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, honestly, is the play to just melee LB one of them so that way you can kill it way sooner?
I think so. Like 100%. I think that's what you do, and then you just have everyone else torch the other one.
Yeah, because as long as nobody's debuff actually expires, like if somebody's debuff expires, they have to pop it, but as long as you don't have a magic vuln, you can kill one pretty freely. You just can't kill one and then have the second one die, and you can't kill one while you still have a vuln up, and then cause the second. Like, it's that 4-second vuln that really just screws with everything. You also can't kill one the moment the bait is going out either, or that will kill people too. So
yeah, it's just so weird to me, because I feel like there were so many like really good design decisions this tier, but like the orb blowing up when you kill the head just feels not in line with the quality of the rest of the decisions, I guess. I'm just kind of confused by it.
Yeah. I mean, the idea, I get the idea in that when it explodes, it takes your debuff, it takes all the remaining debuffs that are around. So it's like, yeah, it's trying to eliminate, but what it creates a bigger problem than it solves.
Right.
So they're like, oh yeah, if we just let it explode, then, it's not like the debuffs will time out and they die. We're fixing that. But it's like, no, we'll just fucking die because the fight's not made not made to really consider the option that you'll kill it that far in advance. So yeah, it's a little bit rough. But still, I mean, outside of that, still good to have another T11 style ad phase, debuff management, baits, tank busters. There's lots of damage, lots of micromanagement, but it's also incredibly short. It's like 50 seconds, the whole phase. So it's a lot that happens in a really short period of time, followed by a 5-hit raid wide from the boss that hits like a fucking truck. Oh yeah, and we skipped over that fucking stack marker. Holy Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, he's hitting hard with that. I don't know.
That might be the scary. I mean, when I think of stack markers that are, I mean, the P11 one is the only other one that really comes to mind for me. For like a stack marker that I've seen just absolutely obliterate people unexpectedly.
Yeah. Like, normally, even one person down, you're pretty okay with those. But yeah, like Shades of P11, where one person's gone, it's still doable, but it gets sketchy quick.
You're looking for that moment where your health doesn't propagate the heal to hit second wind and like for a shield. There's like, please, for fucking Christ. I'm bloodbathing. Just keep me alive. It's fucking scary. And then that last little bit, dude, Final Fantasy 14 can always just add spreads or stacks to anything, and it's
and it just increases the difficulty by like double or triple. Yeah.
They're like, here's 2 mechanics. Not too bad, but by the way, there's spreads and stacks. Oh fuck. All right. At least they're role based. Yeah, the Beckon Moonlight Final Fantasyism, where we hadn't seen all the configurations either until like 30 pulls in. We're like, oh, for fuck's sake, we can be in the same spot twice. Nothing quite like being like 1 and then
1.
That can't be 3.
Dude, my favorite thing about that poll was all of us who like were watching what we needed to, and then we're like, well, it can't be 1, and just watching half the raid just pick one of the other 2 corners at seemingly random because we're like, well, surely I misread it. It can't be 1 then 1. And I was like, I'm gonna run to 3, and then I got hit, and I saw a bunch of people over it. 2 got smoked. I was like, yeah, okay. We were all.
Was I the only one that stayed in the same corner on that pattern? Because I remember watching the entire raid die, but like myself and one of the tanks.
I got pump faked. I'll admit it. I saw 1 and 1, and I was like, nope, that's not right. I'm wrong.
I did the same thing. I definitely was like, no, I'm stupid. This is player error, clearly.
Listening to Whoops try to call it, and he's just like, you could hear the gears turning in his head. He's like, wait, what?
Yeah, it's interesting though, because like the solution we found ended up being both inelegant and elegant at the same time. Weirdly enough, because it basically solves the mechanic the way it's supposed to be solved with an added risk factor that was supposed to be irrelevant to what the cleaves were actually doing. But what eventually ended up happening is the people who did it, who knew how to do that risk assessment, just ended up figuring out how to do it correct. And it was basically 7 people doing it right and 1 person who had to know where to go in both configurations. But it created the exact like spread that we were supposed to, like, I think the game intended us to use for that mechanic. It's weird how we just reverse, like we didn't get there the way you'd think we would get there. We started like, that's what we should do, then said, fuck that, and then it ended up being that anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting. And then the dragon heads after, man.
So easy to miss.
What are those dragon heads are like? They're like the missiles in Guardian, but faster. They're just like, they're there. You're being told they're there. You know it's coming, but also, I'm dead.
And it just floated into the side of you, yep.
But also, I'm fucking dead. And then we find out it is once again not a door boss. Which, how do you feel about non-door bosses with cutscenes? Shiva falls into that category. This falls into that category. How do you feel about getting a big-ass cutscene mental reset break into a not door boss versus what if this had been a door boss scenario instead?
Well, the only thing I hated about the Shiva cutscene when I progged it on Monk was losing all of my Greased Lightning stacks and having to rebuild them in the opener while doing like half of my damage. And now that doesn't exist, so now I really don't care if there's a cutscene or not.
Beth?
Yeah, I'm pretty sorry, yeah. I'm pretty anti-door boss, I'll admit. I actually kind of like if they want to do door boss style things where like the 2 fights are pretty significantly different. I'm actually pretty down for them to do it this way, where like there's the phase 1 cutoff, right? How he can just enrage. I also think this one being 6.5 minutes in as opposed to 3 for Shiva makes it a lot more tolerable. Because with Shiva, like a larger percentage of your pulls, you were seeing that cutscene. While with this one, once you're seeing the cutscene, in theory, you're through the majority of the fight. Like timeline wise, it's only halfway, but you're through most of like the mechanics that you're gonna spend a bulk of your time progging. And I think that makes it feel a lot less bad. While with Shiva, it was like, okay, we got past LR, now we have 10 more minutes of fight with some pretty tough stuff up ahead. And we're going to be seeing the cutscene every single time.
Right.
Also, it was right after an ads phase, which, after you've done a few times, wasn't super engaging anymore, which I think didn't help.
We need the buff, though, Biff. We need the buff.
Need the buff. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess for me, I'm kind of in the. I actually also prefer non-door bosses. I'm a huge advocate for just one consistent boss. I think it's more demoralizing to need to exit the instance and rebeat the door boss than it is to have a long fight, personally.
Yeah.
I felt that was especially true in Abyssos for more than obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And even with the first phase, like Athena, honestly, like I like phase 1 Athena, but like phase 1 Athena is also the hardest part, which ends up true of a lot of door bosses. The harder part is getting past the door boss. So getting that lower different, if you're gonna door boss me, I'd rather the second boss be the real struggle and the first and the door boss not be. But it's never really been that way. Even Exdeath and the Neo Exdeath. Exdeath is the monster. Neo Exdeath is the bigger, grander fight. But Exdeath is the fucking asshole.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like God. I think God Kefka is the case where the second phase is harder than the first. I don't think the first phase of regular Kefka was all too much. But it's just like, I just don't want to reset and have to go past the fucking door boss every time. And then it ends up being like a total of like 16 to 17 minutes between both fights, but it's like split in half. It's like, I'd rather see more of a boss if I'm going to have two different bosses. I'd rather get like two separate instances or two separate full bosses, or like, I don't know. Every other solution to me sounds better than door boss personally. So
yeah.
Yeah. The only thing is the breakup in this. I was going to say, the only thing is like, is the mental reset that you get during the cutscene, is that a positive, or does that entire juxtaposition of this is a totally different fight and there's really not much cohesion from the first one? That's the only part I struggle with on this particular approach to it.
Yeah, I think you can make a case that these two bosses are kind of different. In a way, this almost feels like it originally was a door boss, but then there was like some positive reception about M4 not being a door boss, and they went, oh, well, all right, let's maybe tweak it, and make it a bit more thing. One nice thing about not having door bosses, and I think this fight really highlights that, is a lot of times when you do have door bosses, to essentially, I don't want to use the word pad because it sounds meaner than what I'm about to say, but like even Athena did this, right? Where like you finish all the puzzle mechanics in phase 2, and then there's just like 2 minutes at the end where it's like, okay, we'll just do the first mechanic again. And it's just kind of, I don't know. I think it takes away from the fights a little bit. Where with this, you kind of go through all his stuff, and yeah, he makes you do the spreads and stacks a couple times, but he never truly repeats anything. Everything you do is like, all right, do it once and then go to the next thing, and it just keeps the tempo up.
Yeah, I think the only exception is the very start where I call it palindroming a mechanic, where he literally goes like Quake, Ultraviolent, Tank Buster thing, and then Ultraviolent back to Quake, in a sense. But that's also the part of the fight where he's teaching you what everything does, and also trying to teach you that when Ultraviolent is something you're going to have to consider how you actually get back to the lineups at some point, and like, what you can't just sit idly by and wait for Ultraviolent to start, or if you are, you better have a plan for it that actually works, because you don't have a lot of time to actually decide to hop platforms during that.
Yeah.
So I think that maybe that's the intent, but that's the only part where it feels that way. But every other Ultraviolent is usually in conjunction with something has just happened or something is currently happening that's going to mess up how you do it if you're not thinking about it in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Especially true of the hero's blow at the end, where he goes hero's blow into ultraviolet like 4 seconds later. And you don't even, you just have to figure out how to orient and get everyone into a spot where they can read the mechanic, which not all too tough, but at the very least, it takes a mechanic you already know and puts at least some degree of spin on it that adds a progression factor.
It makes it feel different. And I think that's more important than like, you can break down mechanics if you always bust them down to the most basic building blocks. It's always like, oh, well, it's either just like a stack or a spread or a don't stand in the bad. But as long as like when you're playing the game and it feels different, I think that's all it takes, right? Like, and I think the post Heroes Blow one, because of the constraints and just again how quickly it comes out afterwards, does a good enough job of making you go, oh crap, we just got to figure this out.
Yeah, you got to just rush into position. That's kind of like because the fight, this particular part, the arena and the teleporting. I'm glad again they went a route that is like. I would have never assumed they would have thrown teleporters into a fight to hop between arenas because they're so, if we get a circle, here we get 5, They wanted this as, again, another attempt at doing something different that kind of works. I don't mind getting clipped on my GCD when I'm hopping between the platforms, or you can like GCD and then take the platform to make sure you don't clip. So there's like little tiny bits to work out there for yourself. But even just like the basic mechanics, like the tether mechanic into another bait, that's not like a brand new thing, but the way you interact with it, with the teleporters being disabled for longer periods of time, the sensitivity to the actual like tether and how it is, your distance from every other player, those factors do definitely take a phase that I think is actually kind of chill. I actually think the last phase is much chiller than the first. And it keeps it interesting, I guess is the right way to put it. I'm not bored. I'm not like hating it. Like, what's a good example? The fucking caloric or something, where it's like, here's a new idea and fuck you, by the way.
I hate caloric.
Most people do, Sly.
I haven't met many people that like that mechanic.
It's a really cool idea that doesn't work to the constraints that it operates under very well.
It's a cool idea. It doesn't work very well with the game systems and being limited in how far you can actually move.
It's funny. Imagine we had caloric in this fight, but it only ticked up if you took a teleporter. Like, what if you got teleporter sickness in this fight and then getting enough stacks of teleporter sickness created an explosion like caloric? Like, that would work. I wouldn't hate that.
Because the big difference there is like caloric.
You're giving them ideas for ultimate.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, it's your turn, Biff. Go.
Yeah,
go ahead.
the big difference with like caloric is that like there's no like there's kind of the lines on the floor, but the feedback for how far exactly you can run is really vague and wishy-washy, and I think that's the problem with it. Is like you go up to 4 stacks and you're like, well, I mean, I know I can move a little bit. I don't know how. I have no way to know exactly how far outside of close my eyes and feel the vibes. But like something like teleporter sickness could work and be fun because you as a player know, oh, if I take that teleporter, the raid dies. So let's not do that.
Yeah. And even here with the longer disabled periods where they say, okay, we will not let you hop as frequently here. Effectively, it becomes that because if you take a bad path on a teleporter, there's no way for you to go faster to fix it. You're literally trapped and you have to just hope that you can make it. Or wherever you are, you have to somehow know how to make it work. Like if you take the wrong path on the rotation mechanic, if you're confident in doing the rotation mechanic, it doesn't matter. You can totally save it. But if for any reason there was a mechanic that forced everyone onto a platform, like let's say you needed to, I mean, Heroes Blow is a great example. You have 1 hop to get out of it. And if you take the wrong hop, you die. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yep.
And it's also the same for the tether. No, you don't have a lot of time. Heroes Blow is pretty quick. So, yeah, they definitely experiment with the idea, and it feels like they maybe play a little bit safe because it's so late in the fight that they don't want it. They're kind of choke checking you more than they're doing anything else. And again, that's fine. It's a 14-minute encounter with the cutscene. So, fair enough to not go too crazy with what they could have done with the teleporters. But at the very least, if they're not afraid of doing this, Now they can do it on harder things later as long as it's well received now. And it's like they look at it as something that if they wanted to experiment with the idea, they could do the crazier shit with it at some other point.
Yep.
So this fight is essentially first part and then 7-minute choke check is what you're saying?
I think the second half is like a 6-minute. It's like a 6.5-minute choke check. Cause like, I don't think the second phase, I do think is in every way easier than the first. It's not as fast. It's a little more about precision, but there's so many ways to know how to get to the places you need to be. And in most mechanics, you have more than enough time to do it. You're not like hyper constrained outside of a couple of mechanical dances. And then it's just a matter of you need to know how to do 2 hops at most, 1 hop or 2 hops at most to get to the spot you want to be.
Yeah. And by the way, you hate every time I say this throughout the years, but you finally got a Spectral Keeper boss without it being a Spectral Keeper. I just want to say that.
Why does it matter, Sly? Why does it matter? Why?
Just saying. I had to bring that tidbit up, but go ahead.
It's been like years since that's come up. I haven't said that in ages. How would you even know if I felt that way about it still?
Because every time I brought it up in the past, you fucking hate it.
Hold on to old shit. All right. Either way, yeah, it's definitely more of a successful creative flex than it is a hyper like puzzle. It's not even that puzzly either. Like usually those second phases are a little more puzzly. Well, this one is kind of because of how you use the platforms. It is just a lot of figuring out what everything does and then just kind of doing it. Not so much like, it's not like P8S phase 2 where it's like, what the fuck does this mean over my head?
Big shades of like ultimate final phase in this one, like toned down, obviously, but similar concepts where it's like, okay, we understand what we need to do, but everyone's kind of got to do it because those stacks being enumerations leaves you limited room for error.
Yeah, I think most of the mechanics leave pretty limited room for error. Like you can recover some things, but like as soon as things start going wrong, picking the pieces back up just gets worse and worse. And we especially learned that in our clear.
That is a phase that mistakes kind of just snowball really, really hard.
Yeah. Big thing in our clear is, so the enrage sequence is, it's Neo X-Death, but more engaging, I suppose.
To me, like outside looking in, since I haven't done it, but I've seen the video, it looks a lot more like, it reminds me of Alexander Ultimate.
Oh, with the jails, like people getting locked up one by one. Yeah, I mean, I get that.
Well, it's that, but like less restrictive than that. But it's like you have the whole crew with you at least.
Yeah, everyone's. Well, I mean, that's the thing. We did a strat that I haven't seen very many clears, but our strat that was decided upon by our tank is the sole reason we even cleared on our actual clear pull. Because if we were doing the traditional strat that people seem to want to do, which is to just stay together and mitt like a few of them and then invuln 1 or 2 of them, we would have been fucked.
So what was your strat?
So we did the party only does the 1st and 5th platforms, and the tank super cool down the 2nd one, a tank invulns the 3rd one, and a tank invulns the 4th one.
In comparison to the strat that I've seen people do where it's like, tanks will invuln maybe 2.
Yeah.
Give you more time?
Well, it doesn't give you more time, but basically the party is only taking, you don't need party mitt for anything more than 1 and 5. The tanks can handle an entire set on their own, and they just need like the personal mitt and they need to be healed and they're fine. It basically becomes a tank buster instead. We had a death on the 1st platform. Someone just didn't make it off the platform in time. They were like finishing a spell and then just didn't hit the teleporter. So if we were doing a party stack there on that 2nd one, which is pretty standard, a 7-player party stack, when you want to get a res out without a non-healer reser, yeah, probably would have been disaster in all honesty. So the fact that even though we lost the tank on the 2nd one because we were down a healer, I think that strat totally saved us from that small mistake that I was very, very scared of when I saw it happen. And then I almost wiped us. But, you know, that's different.
Listen, nothing happened, all right? It's fine.
Yeah, we didn't wipe, so nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
I totally didn't go to the next platform before he had picked a platform. And then listen, it was only a 12.5% chance. Actually, one person was dead, so it was 1 in 7 chance, but shut up. Anyway. It was, you know, it totally didn't wipe us on that last one. And I totally didn't press Troubadour and have it not go off. And I can even show the footage of me pressing it and it not activating. And we didn't have it on the 5th platform. We had Min. Everyone loves Min. No one's ever once asked me where's Min. People don't even put it on mit sheets. They just leave it out. They're like, eh.
They don't put mantra there either.
Yeah, it's just because it's job specific, but like, come on, just consider it. All right. Consider dismantle. Consider Min. Consider everything.
Bring it.
We're trying to help. But yeah, I'm looking forward to re-clears for this.
Me too.
Which is not something I always do.
I wish we were doing more.
Yeah, I know. You've been in PF this whole fucking podcast.
I have been in PF this whole podcast.
How's that been going, by the way?
I have been killed by the Yan about 9 times. You know how I said I saw lava before this started? I haven't seen it since. And I'm having a blast.
Good old Yan moment. Yeah. That's
Oh man.
That's
you
how
know,
it is.
Yantastic.
God, that little they're gonna sell a Yan plush, right? Like it's gonna happen.
They better. They have to.
Yeah.
Next fan fest.
Look, there's already people asking for a Yan minion. Just sell the plush with a code for it. Free money.
Somebody's gonna buy like 100 of them and just
Yeah, I can tell you who it'll be too. It'll be Jaden's.
Oh, that fucking Yan, man. But yeah, this is I'm really impressed. Now, I am thinking one step ahead for this. Because this Savage tier had a more impressive design than Fru. And I actually think I think some people are a little overly harsh on some parts of Fru. I think Fru was actually a really well done ultimate.
Okay.
Just its difficulty wasn't DSR top. I think that's it. That's and I'm glad, because if it was, I might have cried again. I was not ready for 3 of those back. Like, up for it's like, oh yes, DSR. Oh god, I sure hope the next one's not like that. Top comes out. I definitely hope the next one's like that. Fru, it's like, okay.
Nice reprieve.
The next one, yeah.
From hell, you know.
The next one can be like that. All right. Yeah, DSR Abyssos top. What a set with a criterion in between. Oh boy.
This next one's gonna have Yan ultimate, and it's just gonna be nightmare. If it's the Endwalker ultimate, it's gonna be or even Shadowbringer story ultimate. They could do it too. Ascian Prime, all that nonsense.
Yep. I mean, that's where in terms of pattern, since they skipped Stormblood MSQ, because why would they do Stormblood MSQ? Like, I get it. Shinryu's cool, but just put him in Endwalker ultimate. Just put him at the end.
True.
With fucking like Neo Shinryu with fucking Xenos.
Have him eat Endsinger, consume the Aether or the Dynamis at this point, and just go nuts.
Yeah, just Neo Shinryu all over the place.
Sora Warlet ultimate win.
I wish.
Yeah.
Just like how I wish we'd get 4 Lords.
Then we could actually fight Kieran.
Right? Man.
Yeah, could be there. Then we could tag team with all of the we could just get some more tag team action with the 4 Lords. It could be like Yogg Saron, 4 keepers.
No, let's not.
And would you rather I have said Yogg Saron 0 keepers?
I would rather you not mention Yogg Saron at all.
Why? What's wrong with Yogg Saron?
You know what's wrong with Yogg Saron.
No, I know what's wrong with Yogg Saron 0 keepers, but not 4 keepers.
4 lights chill, right? That's a vibe. Yeah.
Yeah. Then 3 lights is even okay. Then 2 lights is and 1 light's like, please no more. And 0 lights are bring a bunch of warlocks.
Yeah. I played Warlock. That's why I got to do that a lot.
You're like,
pretty much.
don't look. People who don't play WoW have no fucking idea what I'm talking about.
Put my dots on and turn away.
I suck. That's it. That's how you did it. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of expectation on whatever, even if the next Ultimate isn't in 0.3, which I'm still not convinced it will be. There's no reason to say it will be, you know? It could be.
I'm curious if we get it this patch cycle or for the, 7.4, 7.5 cycle. It's
or not
kind of up in the air. I mean, we could, even if we just get 1, that's okay. 2 would be cool. I do not think we will get 3.
No, that's not happening.
There's no way. Just in terms of dev time, it just doesn't seem feasible unless they already had 1 done before they started the expansion.
Maybe they secretly ahead the whole time with DSR. They were preparing for this moment.
I doubt it.
No, I'm kidding. They 100% work. They've already said they are working on the next. They confirmed they already started development on the next one after like Fru came out, like an interview like 2 weeks later. We're like, yeah, we're working on the next one. So
personally hoping it's end of the expansion instead of middle.
I mean, we do
just kind of as a nice send off.
I mean, we do have a second BA at the end of the expansion this time. We have 2 BAs, Baldessian Arsenal equivalents this expansion. So
that'll be good. That'll be really fun to do.
Yeah, we got 1 in like 7 weeks, and it's 6.5 weeks. So
can't wait. Going to be living in that.
Yeah, we got Forked Tower coming up. Not all too long. Got Cosmic Exploration this month. We got Occult Crescent next month. And for those who are Eureka enthusiasts, you may have noticed that bunnies were missing from the live letter in regards to the Occult Crescent. Well, fortunately, the achievement list is for 7.2 is already there, and it does say there are happy bunnies in the Occult Crescent. So if you're a big AFK and make free Gil fan like I am, you have 1 extra activity on your belt. Ooh. Chat asking about another Chaotic. I don't think they're doing a second Chaotic this expansion. I think they'll do more. I don't think they're doing another one.
So the thing I'm actually... Because I remember at Dawntrail FanFest, they mentioned Criterions, but there actually hasn't been a mention of Criterion at all in this expansion.
Yeah.
So are we actually getting them?
All they've said is they are doing one. They have reaffirmed that since the fan fests. They have reiterated they are doing one this expansion. They have not said they're doing more than 1.
Yeah. Again, this is the expansion where we get pretty much everything, like everything that we've gotten in past expansions, but some expansions were missing one particular thing. No, this expansion we're getting everything. Maybe just not a lot of everything that you would expect.
Yeah, I think 3 Criterions never needed to happen, but I think what they want to do this expansion is they want to make sure that the reason that people have to do each thing actually makes sense, instead of like saying, well, they'll do 3 of them and then just kind of react to how people like what if they release another Criterion and there are good rewards, but they didn't know that it was going to be enough. Whereas Chaotic, the lead dev of Chaotic was over Twitter reading feedback, like responding to people about how it was doing and like what people were saying about rewards. Like he was constantly scanning it and retweeting and engaging with it. So he very clearly wants to make sure that if they are going to do more, they understand what people actually wanted and don't want about it. And I think like with Criterion, that's going to be the case here too. When they do it, they're going to be like, okay, no, this time we really need to stop and pay attention. So let's not commit to a shit ton of them. Which I'll take. Because, 14's devs aren't usually on socials. So having the lead combat dev on socials, checking for things like that, it's probably the most reaffirming thing I've seen. And the English Twitters. Very specifically the English, because everyone likes to give shit to the dev team, but like being like, they only read the JP. No, they were reading NA tweets and stuff.
Yeah. I think regarding Criterions, if we only get one, it'll be nice for me at least because I really like Criterions. If they put it in a patch that doesn't have an ultimate, I do think it is rough when they're like, "Hey, here's an ultimate," and then 2 weeks after the ultimate, they're like, "Hey, here's Criterion Savage." It's like, all right, maybe a little bit more breathing room between them would be nice, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, Endwalker had a really weird problem where everyone said there was nothing to do, but that's because everything there was to do was some sort of like really high-end content, and it was only a bunch of really high-end content, but you really had to want to do only the really high-end content.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's 2 ultimates, 3 Criterion Savages, 3 raid tiers. Like, it's just like, geez, what the fuck? A deep dungeon, which most people would consider the solo to 100 more of a hardcore activity.
Yep.
So... it was wild. It was really wild. And then Island Sanctuary, great. Fantastic. Yeah, that was the reaction I was expecting. Anyway. But yeah, hopefully the quality of Cruiserweight carries over into Ultimate, into everything else, really. I mean, the quality of content in Dawn Trail has been really high. It's just been the frequency of it and, obviously the back and forth about the actual base story, which I think most people are relatively okay with 0.1, 0.2 story so far. Above average compared to 0.0 at the very least.
Yeah, I think it's been pretty good.
Yeah.
So, fingers crossed, we're on an upward trend for Dawn Trail. We'll find out more in a couple of weeks with the Occult Crescent. For those who don't remember, April 22nd. I'm sorry, not Occult Crescent. Cosmic Exploration.
Cosmic Exploration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, April 22nd for Cosmic Exploration. This is the big Crafting Gathering Ishgard equivalent, and it is being updated with a new planet every patch. There will be the competition sort of bit, but it's only every 2 days, and your competition bit only stays for 14 days. But I'm really hoping it's good and fun and community engaging because, Ishgard did that really well, and I would like to see it done again. And I think
Ishgard got me to gather. Oh, my bad. Sorry.
No, I was going to just say the same thing pretty much. I was like, that actually got people to do gathering and crafting content. I've seen people who I've never associated with crafting and gathering being like, I'm getting Saint of the Firmament.
I leveled my crafters. I leveled my gatherers. If they had done it again, I probably, if they do it again, I'll probably, get my stuff up to cap just because... I don't know, something about it just makes it feel more engaging for me. As someone who doesn't usually engage with that stuff, doing it with everyone around and all the hustle and bustle just feels really cool.
Biff, I'm proud of you. As opposed to some people.
Yeah.
I'll have you know, Sly, that
Go ahead.
I bought all my pots this patch off of the market board.
I mean, to be fair, I did too because I'm lazy about pots. I'll make my own gear. I don't give a shit about pots and food. I'll just buy enough to last me the entire fucking tier. I don't give a shit about that. I used to. I don't give a shit about that. I do give a shit about making people's, gear though. I like my own.
I care about
give a shit about that.
Having 500 million gil and using it to not have to do anything.
Mm-hmm. My poor crafter hates me.
See what I deal with. See what I fucking deal with.
Look, I was a
Jitter, yeah. Jitter.
I was a hyper efficient tome farming machine. My crafter made 10 crafted sets and 4,000 pots for me.
That's right. You made 10 crafted sets because you needed it for how many characters?
Oh, 6.
Jesus.
Yep.
Man, I could have made money off of you. Shit.
Yeah, you could have. But I farmed all of the tomestones for the mats, right? And then, I gave them to my crafter pretty much as a lump sum, and all he sent back was, "But why?"
Yeah, that's a lot of characters.
Yeah.
Too many. Don't do what I do.
Why do you do what you do?
I didn't have that many bulk orders. Go ahead.
So there was a lot of times where I would be subbing for a friend's static, trying to help them clear week 1, but they still want the loot. So rather than bring my main and they don't get loot, I go on an alt and then they get loot and everybody's happy. I don't feel like I was waiting for you to do it, and you didn't do it.
I'm looking at you because you act.
I know you're looking at me. I was waiting for it. It's the perfect time.
But I'm happy.
No, he's happy. Anyway, everybody gets loot. Everyone's content. We get to have, I don't feel like an ass because the system doesn't let me help my friends clear content without losing them a chest. Maybe they address that sometime. I really hope so. And lightweight, I had like 4 different groups ask me to help out after we cleared and did splits, so I just ended up with 4 more characters. And now I'm here with 6, and I don't know what to do with them besides go into PF.
Oh, you.
Yay.
Not
can't
Jitter.
tell.
Not Jitter having to consider which alt he brings to raid if his main already has loot.
Did that happen? Wait.
It happened in Fru. I think you wanted a weapon.
It did happen in Fru, because when we were doing our ninth clears, I was doing them on an alt.
Yeah, you said, oh, well, if we're going to bring in the ninths, I'll just bring my alts instead.
True.
He's like, I'll just get totems on all my alts. No biggie. Yeah.
Hey, you know what? I have every Fru weapon on 3 characters, so there's that.
So that was a good show.
Happy, are you okay?
Good show, everyone. I'm sorry, I need to end the show so you can go do 6 characters worth of PFing. We got to wrap it up.
No.
That's it. You got the Yan calls for your blood, and you've got a lot to spare.
The Yan is taking my blood as we speak.
So, that's going to be a wrap for this week's show. With that, we got some outros to do. Thanks again, both of you, for coming on such short notice.
Thank you so much.
It was great to be here. That was a good time.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Thank
fun.
you for having me.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for joining. It was just going to be Sly and I, and I was like, this will be way more fun if there's 4 DPS instead of 2. We don't need tanks and healers.
You're going to have to ask Keo about tanking this at some point.
Yeah, probably. What a goat. No, Yan's not a goat. He's a ram. Oh, you meant Jitter. Okay, never mind. Okay.
It's not on 6. It's only on 3.
All right, that's fine. So let's do quick outros. Biff, why don't you tell everyone what you're working on, what you're doing, whatever you want to for your outro.
Biff, my Twitter tag is Biffolo XIV. I occasionally tweet things, and once in a blue moon, I stream on Twitch at Biffolo. Usually it's around like prog time. So yeah, just keep an eye out if you want to see some caster and or sometimes healer shenanigans.
Yeah, I've met Biff as a healer. And then I kept seeing him as a healer, and he never got to play Black Mage in a group I was in. So like, now.
That's true, yeah.
It's like, I'm a Black Mage main. I'm like, do you play it? Do you get to play
But are you really?
That's like me being a monk main, and I'm like, they're like, Haps, you're not a monk main. You never get to play it. There was no Black Mage crash out. It's not there. Tune into his stream for that.
Yeah.
Jitter,
I'll
you're up.
definitely be tuning in.
If you ever want to see my PF shenanigans, you can find me at twitch.tv/Jitter. I'll stream those. I stream prog. Sometimes I just sit there and run my mouth over random melee things. If you want to find me on Twitter, where you can also see me just joking about the tier, it's at Jitter07. I don't really have any plans besides spending the next eternity in PF between our reclears. So if you want to watch the Yan absolutely decimate everybody, you'll probably see it like at least 5 times.
Minimum of 5. That's
minimum of 5.
Quota. Yeah, perfect. All right. Well, thank you. Sly, you're up.
You can find me at twitch.tv/Sly, aka Gray Fox, Twitter, Sly, aka Gray Fox, Blue Sky, Sly, aka Gray Fox. I'm in Prague right now. Our days are Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, possibly next Saturday, because I don't have anything to do. I don't have WSLY next Saturday. I do have it tonight, which I'll get to in a second, and Sunday and Monday, because we're going pretty hard the first 2 weeks. After next week, we'll probably go to normal times. Hopefully if we clear. But other than that, yeah, tonight is WSLY doing Anime in the Limelight, an all anime DJ set tonight. Gonna be pretty anime as fuck.
Smile Bomb better be there.
And then kind of another thing I wanted to start and just been afraid to, but I finally just, kicked myself in the gear and I'm going to start it. I will be starting an official/unofficial Final Fantasy 14 whiskey community because we have the community pages. So the plan is to, bring people together to meet once a week, probably Friday. And go over our recent hauls, go over stuff we like, and kind of introduce everybody to certain whiskeys that they may have or may have never had. And it's been something I've been wanting to do because a lot of people are kind of scared to get into the whole whiskey thing. And this is for everybody: bourbon, Scotch, rye, everything. So I plan on having the the community sheet for it at the most Monday, and see about starting maybe this coming Friday or the next. So if you are into any kind of whiskey at all or want to get into whiskey, there'll be a 14 community and group for it that will meet every week. So please look forward to it. Hi. That's me.
I haven't added a new whiskey to my shelf in quite some time. If anything, I've just subtracted from it by drinking it occasionally. Make a fellowship for it. I don't know if the fellowship would allow, the in-game fellowship would like the whiskey theme, but then again, there's literally like just porn in there, so like porn addicts in there, so there's like only feet fellowships and stuff. So yeah, who knows? Maybe whiskey's fine.
I hope. Please don't ban me, Yogi.
Please don't ban. Listen, if half those other fellowships that I've seen in there aren't banned, I dare anyone to go onto their server and look through their fellowship list right now.
Fellowships are in a game?
Yeah, I'm in a Fat Cat Fellowship. We take a poll every month about which Fat Cat's the coolest.
I forgot that was a feature, and I don't even remember how to access it.
You click social, you click fellowship. Yeah, it's not good. There's usually some sort of degeneracy in there at all times. Or maybe it is good. Maybe that's what you want. I don't know. But yeah. And then I'm Mrhappy. I'm just keep it busy right now. I got Claire Obscure later this month, which I'm looking forward to. I've got quite a few things on my plate at the moment. I'm actually going to be traveling this coming Tuesday, so I'll have a slightly less streams over the next week or so after Tuesday. Like Tuesday itself, I won't stream. The following Tuesday, I definitely won't be streaming. The following Monday and Tuesday, I probably won't be streaming. And then I'll have a handful of streams that probably won't be as long for that week. I will not say what the trip is for just yet, but you will all probably know soon. It's not even NDA. It's just, I'm not telling you yet. So that's it. Just to be clear, everyone's like, oh, he's got a secret. It's just NDA. I was like, no, I'm literally under no obligation not to, but I'm not going to.
He's going to the Persona 6 premiere.
Yeah, that's it. That's obviously what it is. No, dude, it's the P4 remake one, obviously. So
of course.
Yeah. God, it's got to be that, right? It's just that totally wouldn't be NDA'd if I was going.
No. It's for Rido. He's going for Rido. That's what it is.
Rido. Yeah, that's your alley for sure. Definitely more your alley than mine, I think. All right, but
you'll love it.
Probably. But that's going to be a wrap for this week's show. Because I will be traveling next week, there will be no show. And the following week, we'll have a different show. We will have a show that the week after next week, and then the following week will be Cosmic, the show. So we'll be doing a bunch of pieces on that stuff. Yeah, we'll have a week of Cosmic. As much as I hate to be pulled away from Claire Obscure, I'll make enough time to do that. But yeah, thank you again to our guests for tuning in. Thank you to everyone else for tuning in. Thank you to the sponsors on Patreon. Thank you to SteelSeries, of course. And we will see you next time we have a show. Oh, man, I wanted to add the image that you put in here at the end, but I'd have to... Here, I can do it. All right, I'm going to go to the outro screen. I'm going to add the image after because I want to share this image that Jitter seems to have.
Oh, my God.
There's this image right here that's hold on. I'm gonna leave this part into the YouTube because this pretty accurately describes something. I don't really know what, but it's there and it makes sense. Here we go. What is this? There you go. That's it. That's the one. That it's just who did this? Who did this?
I don't know. It just got sent to me.
It's just got. I mean, accurate. I like how the cat's nowhere to be found. The Jabberwock is nowhere to be found. It's just, Oh God, one range does both. Oh, that's not gonna work out well. Oh, and it's a dance. I get it.
How the fuck did that?
Because they're a dancer, they AoE'd and pulled both of. I get it. Now it all makes sense.
I got to witness this happen while we were on the show.
Oh my God, Jesus. There's a cat jumping around somewhere in there. I don't know. Anyway, that's going to be it. We're going to do a short post show, and we'll see you next State of the Realm. Enjoy the art.